Hello, and welcome to Truly We Speak, a podcast where we uplift faith, community, and education. My name is Sierra Ward, and I am your host for today's podcast. Y'all, I'm super excited. I have a very special guest with me today. I would like to welcome Jordan Jojo Johnson to the platform. Jordan is a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, author, educator, and just overall leader. Welcome, Jordan, to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So you have some really exciting news that we'd love to share towards the end of this podcast. But for now, the people are really interested in who you are and your upbringing. So you're from Detroit. And you
I'm
grew up
from
with a
Detroit.
lot of siblings. Okay, walk
for
us
sure.
through that.
Yeah, so I'm from Detroit, Michigan, man. Grew up in the household. So I grew up in a single parent household. It was my mom. My mom took care of my granddad because he was a little elderly and sickly. But besides that, I had one biological brother, London, and one biological sister, Mia, who's 10 years younger than me. Now, growing up, my mama also adopted 3 of my cousins who grew up as my brothers, too. So from the age of 2 years old, I was 2 when she adopted them, which is pretty much all my life, as far back as I can remember. I've had 4 other brothers and 1 younger sister. And then we always had somebody else living with us in the house, too. So whether it was a cousin, a auntie, uncle, just it was always a full house. And it's a 3-bedroom colonial house, unfinished basement. You know what I'm saying? So we had to get creative with everything. I remember my brothers, 2 of them would sleep in the basement. Me and 3 of my other brothers would sleep in bunk beds in one room. My granddad had a room. My mom had a room. Cousins would be on the couch or in the beds with us. And we got twin bunk beds. So, you know what I'm saying? We had to get creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you have that background. I'm not from Detroit, but everybody who's from Detroit reps Detroit hard.
Yeah,
like
to
my
the
mom is from
fullest,
Detroit.
yeah.
So what did that do for you in terms of just life and even business?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as life is concerned, man, growing up in Detroit really taught me the value of community. And when I was growing up, I'm not sure if I really appreciated it that much, but so my block was a little different because you got that what do you call it, the cliche that or the stigma that Detroit was just this rough place and all this crime and stuff. But on my block, I'm from 7 Mile in Apollon. It was really like neighborly. Like I remember Mr. Green, he lived right across the street from us. He was like a second granddad. I learned how to garden from him.
Wow.
I learned how to, maintain lawns and do all of those things. And when I say garden, I mean like real, like mini farming actually.
Wow.
Like growing crops and all of that stuff. So it was real neighborly, like on our block. Every year we had block parties. Every day of the summer we was outside in my backyard playing basketball or going through the neighborhood hooping, playing tag, football, all of that.
Yeah.
Pick them up, mess them up, everything. So it was a really good communal aspect to growing up in my little section of Detroit. The whole Detroit, it was also really a great teaching experience because I got to witness so many other people's lifestyles and stuff. Now, again, I said my mama raised 6 kids. R.I.P. to my brother Keith. He was the one who was right above me who passed away. But she raised 6 kids, always took care of my granddad, and always took care of somebody else's kids as well.
Yeah.
And so within that, man, it really taught me the value of family and being selfless.
Yeah.
But the overall Detroit thing, man, it's somewhere to be proud of. We got so many things that is wrong in our communities, but we found a joy in it. We found a joy in, coming from poverty. We found a joy in not having the resources that we needed growing up. I remember in high school, my classes didn't have enough books to give us so that we could take books home to do our homework, let alone have enough books in the classroom. And on top of that, the books were drawn through, ripped up, all of that stuff. So under resourced, underprivileged, that was like the normal. So when I came to college, I was like, this is weird, bro.
Yeah. And I bet it was a
weird.
culture shock, right? Because you in your school? What high school did you go to?
I went to Mumford High School.
Oh, my mom went there.
What?
Yeah, she went to
Shout out to
Mumford.
your
Yeah,
mama.
shout out to Mumford, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Cool. Yep. So, I know for her, it was kind of like a culture shock coming here
Mhm.
because it's so diverse
100%.
in Kalamazoo. So, yeah,
100%.
having that experience. So, how did that kind of transition? Yeah. What was the transition like from moving to Kalamazoo from Detroit?
Yeah, so I came to college like on a whim a little bit. Like I was kind of directionless, and I always say this, man. Nobody really, like my mom was proud of me when I said that I'm gonna go to college, but nobody
Yeah.
really pushed me to go.
Mm.
Like, so when I came here, I didn't know what to expect. I came here a couple of times before for orientation, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it was called like Brown and Gold Day or something like that.
Okay.
Got here and I'm like, okay, this is smooth, you know what I'm saying? Not too far, not too
Yes.
close, you know what I'm saying? There's a nice little distance. And when I got here, I'm like, okay, it's straight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just decided to come here. It was between here, Michigan State, Eastern, or staying home and going to Lawrence Tech University.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, the culture shock aspect, man, I had somebody on my dorm, in my dorm, on my floor that was from Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, bro, that's like halfway across the world.
Yeah.
I low key don't even. I know it's in the Middle East, but but back then I didn't
You
know
had
where
to put
that
it on
was.
a map.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, all right, let me find this. But it was really, dope getting to meet so many people from different places and so many people from the same places that just
Right.
had different upbringings and diversity of thought. So it was
Yeah.
really just a dope experience.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So, just coming from college out of a different,
Mhm.
just and being around different people who think different you, who move
Yeah.
differently, whose parents are different than yours. Like,
Mhm.
how did that kind of transition you into what you're doing now with multicultural work, where you're actually helping students navigate that?
Yeah, for sure. So as you know, I'm a navigation specialist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in multicultural affairs with students at Western Michigan University. And with that, I get to be a resource for students. My target demographic is the black student population, but I
Mhm.
literally help any student. And so one thing that drew me to this job was the fact that I would be primarily working with black students.
Yes.
I always wanted to be a resource for black people. So before working here, I was doing my entrepreneurial thing. I started a real estate business. That was my very first business, and I was doing basically like wholesaling. It's like middleman transactions
Yes.
for real estate development. And then I switched over to my Big Bear skincare business, which I still operate to this day. But I did that because I started making my own products anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah. So I would say the college experience really gave me like the connections for one, great networking opportunity, but also the confidence to get out there and try new things. I realized that I was a independent thinker, and
Yeah.
I valued perspective, but didn't really necessarily need it to formulate my own thoughts. And so I started making my own skincare products. I was like, let me turn this into a business because COVID had hit, and I was like, all right, I need to get creative.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how that happened. And like I said, I still own and operate that to this day.
Yeah, and that's so important. Like entrepreneurship is so important because like you never know when you're gonna have to fully like rely on yourself to take care of things. Because really, jobs are can be temporary. So if you have something where you're able to be like, yeah, I've seen you at the farmers market. And I'm like, okay,
sure.
that's really cool. Especially to see somebody like black at the farmers market because a lot of times people just been there year after year, and there are some really cool local businesses there though. But to have representation, I think is really cool too.
Yeah, definitely. And it says a lot, like, to be in a community where you're not, one of the most represented, or from one of the most represented demographics, but being able to, be out there and be welcomed and be, profitable and successful has been a tremendous experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Kalamazoo is smaller, which means that the perk is you get more intimate, more in-depth relationships as opposed to trying to meet everybody at one time. So
yeah.
Cool.
Well, one of your most recent endeavors,
let's talk about it,
is Love Me Black, Black
yes.
Love Restored, written by Jordan Johnson.
Yes,
so you've
yes.
recently written a book.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yes, yep.
What
So,
led up to that?
Yeah, so I released my first book, Love Me Black, Black Love Restored, on Valentine's Day.
Aw.
Yeah, the Day of Love and during Black History Month. So Love Me Black. The purpose of this book is to reestablish love back into the center of the Black community, because I feel like that's one of the things that we are missing. We have this conceptualization of what love is, and that love hurts, and that love is all of these things. Love can be toxic. You know, you got people that's on social media like, you know, bragging about their toxicity and saying how much they love. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, that's
when I love deep.
Yeah, like, nah, that's
I love down.
That ain't the love that love really is. So, you know, people have a misconception. What they talking about is psychotic infatuation. And it's like, okay, just because you're crazy about somebody don't mean that you love them, because in the next breath, you beating on that person.
Exactly.
And that actually just happened to somebody that I went to school with.
Oh, my gosh.
I literally just seen that, like, last night. She posted a tell-all where she was on Facebook Live, you know, talking with knots and cuts and all types. Yeah, man. So it's like, and this is the same girl that was on Facebook. I love my man. Da, 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 da. I was like, that ain't love, bro. And matter of fact, I got a chapter in this book that says love don't hurt. And in that, I break down all of those things, like, you know what I'm saying, all of the toxic behaviors and traits that we exemplified. That don't mean you love somebody.
Yeah, because I feel like it's you have to have a balance, because it's like, okay, you can be like super just toxic and I don't know. I'm glad that you are able to talk about that in the book and have like a balance, because, you know, you shouldn't fear relationships out of being scared, but, you know, you have to change and grow to your point. Yeah.
And even when you talk about marriage, to me, and not to me, I'm not gonna say to me, I hate when I do that. But just in general, marriage is the commitment to constantly work together.
Absolutely.
In life.
Yes.
And when you get married, that isn't the end of anything. That isn't the end of, you know, people be like, that's the end of all be all. It's like, nah, bro, that's the beginning.
Yes.
That's the next stage from which you multiply life. There's another one of the toxic traits that people have, man. It's another section in the book called Mama's Baby, Daddy's Maybe. And it basically talks about the fact how people want kids as like novelty items. Yeah. And not realizing that a kid is a commitment. A kid is a
lifelong commitment.
Yeah. And think about that. You got the power of God himself. You are creating. Like God creates. Yeah. And we are lucky enough to have that power that he has given us. And here we are having umpteenth baby mamas and having babies by dudes who we don't plan on being with and all of those things.
Because you can have a kid with somebody and be like, well, I don't really know if I foresee myself being with this person for the rest of my life. So we can let's go have on a kid. Why not?
Like several reasons why not.
Like where should we start?
Man, yeah. So like I always, you know, me and my boys, we used to have these talks or whatever, and they would be like, man, I'm not using no condom because she told me she couldn't get pregnant, or she on birth control. Or no, she told me that she was clean or whatever. And or they would say she's on birth control, but it's like, what about the other thing? What about having a baby and having that commitment? I got a homeboy who got a kid by a girl he don't want.
Or being so tied to a person that you don't know nothing about.
Yeah.
And now, you know,
let's talk about it.
We can talk about energy, but just like now you're like, now, you know, you're stressed out and confused and not even knowing yourself. And so this was kind of a point I had it in my head, but I didn't really know how to put it to words of like, when you were just talking about like toxicity, I feel like we have to have a balance of knowing when to give up, but not being so eager to give up. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, well, I want a perfect person. A lot of people are really looking for Jesus himself, like in relationships. And I think it's easy and I'm not going to say which gender it goes, because I see it going both ways.
100%.
Men think they're perfect, women think they're perfect. So they're looking for a perfect person. And it's like, no, nobody's going to be perfect. We're always like we're not gonna be perfect till we get to of glory. Till we get to heaven with the Lord, that's when, you know, we'll be more like him. But for now, it's like we're still working, so you have to be willing to grow with that person. But when we talk about toxicity, you also have to know when you do have to put that towel in. And that made me think of Divorce in the Black. Have you seen it? With Tyler Perry.
Yeah. I seen
and
it.
was it Megan Good?
Yeah.
It was
on
Megan
Netflix.
Good, and she was going through all
Yeah.
of that. And it was something that her mom said to me when she found out everything that the man had put her through that really made me think about relationships. And she was like, Megan Good was like, I was trying to be like you guys. You guys set such a great example of how I should be. And her mom was kind of like comforting her and be like, I'm so kind of like, I see how hard you tried, but we never wanted you to endure that type of love.
Right,
like we never wanted you to have to go through that. So yeah, I think that's just really just something to keep in mind when we think of relationships and marriage, because it's you have to have a firm foundation. It's a life commitment.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And the beauty about the relationship aspect and the marriage aspect, and I talk about this in the book too. Love is a choice, and you choose it every day, every hour, every minute, and every second to love that person. That's way more powerful than the Disney love that everybody talk about, than the love that they say just happens.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I think now part of me believe that it's a both and situation.
Yeah.
Because I talk about this in the book too. When the very first time I see my wife, I still remember it this day. I was working in Valley One, Ackley Shilling, at the front desk.
Right, okay.
She lived in Ackley, I lived in Shilling. I was at the front desk, and she walked out the doors to Ackley and walked just out the dorm. And I was like, yo, who is that? I'm like, who is that? And you know, this is college.
I'm laughing because I was an RA, so I'm just like, this is what we call a college love story.
Man,
I'm on duty right now.
Facts. Yeah, man. So I'm at the front desk, and I'm like, who? And it wasn't and like, again, I work at the front desk. I get to see everybody. It's a ton of beautiful women that's walking by. But her in particular, like, something was like, hey, bro, this your wife. And I was like, what?
Yep.
So I didn't know that that's what the voice in my head said at the time.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't believe totally in just destiny.
Yeah.
I believe, you know, both and. So when I seen her, it was just crazy. And now we're married with 2 kids. Just had my other kid last Friday.
Congratulations.
So, you know
you had your kid last Friday.
Man,
come on.
March 15th.
Wow.
So yeah, man, it's crazy once you realize what love is, and you do kind of feel you know, betrayed almost by everybody else who tried to tell you what love was. And it's like, bro, y'all didn't know what y'all was talking about, and if I would have listened to y'all, I would have been just like y'all.
Or even just like past relationships and like past traumas with our families and with like other people that we've dated. And you know, the bar had been like, oh well, if you love me, you'll do this. If you'll love me, you'll let me do this, even though I'm not willing to change. But you said you love me, so you need to sit here and endure this. Like, no, if somebody says that they love you, that is a big, you know, that's a big vow that they're saying. Like, and I think, did you mention vows in here?
Vows, not
okay,
totally,
not too much. I think it was I was talking to my friend about just like a marriage book that's kind of like our pastor is like, hey, when you want to get married, these are the things, you know, that you need to be mindful of just making sure you're on the same page about your values and your morals. And you know, I'm sure when you met your wife, you're like, who is she actually though? Did she, you know, who's her family, who's her parents? Like those are the types of things, because I think I see a lot of young people, especially, we struggle with relationships. Relationships are tricky, especially with social media.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we struggle with is the misinterpretation that we have, you know, about love in general, but also what we use as the justification. We think because we're attracted to somebody physically that we have to go have we have to go have sex with them or have to do things with them, and it's like, no. If I have a philosophy, it says that my personal philosophy is humanity governed by righteousness, and that basically is the belief that I have that that I try to base everything in, and
Yeah.
my standard is righteousness. But I realize that I'm human. It's kind of like the whole thing of be more like Jesus.
Yeah.
But you would never.
I'm
be
not gonna
Jesus.
be Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
But how can I be more like
Exactly.
him? Yes, that's
Exactly.
really
So
good.
that's the standard, and you know that you can never be like that because
Yeah.
that wasn't intended for you. But that's your standard, and that's what you aim
Mhm.
for. So it took me a while to develop that, but I always believed that in my head. And when we have a bunch of the youth and a bunch of younger folks trying to date and do all of those things, they just doing it just because, without purpose
Mhm.
or without even intention or without a thought of righteousness. They
Yeah.
doing it out of purely selfish desires, wanting to
Lust.
have
And I'm
sex,
young.
right?
Yeah. So I can do
Lust,
it.
yeah, lust, wanting to be in the streets, wanting to be or vanity,
Yep.
wanting people to look at them, wanting to be the center of attention, dressing provocatively, all of those things.
Yeah.
And so when I look at the younger generations today, that's why I get on Instagram and complain a lot. I get on Instagram and be like, man, y'all need to do
Yeah.
better, da 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 da. And I'll be like, and then I got to a point where I was like, bro, but you not doing nothing. Like, you
Wow.
just talking.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, humanity governed by righteousness. You
Yeah.
just talking? Nah, I'm writing now.
Okay.
No, I'm
Y'all
on
heard him.
podcast talking.
Y'all heard
Nah,
what he said.
I'm trying to teach and make the community better.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the goal for the book. The goal and the goal for Love Me Black, because it is
Yeah.
a business. And with the business, I plan on doing like seminars, workshops, and
It's amazing.
pushing the culture forward by using love as a source of energy
Yeah.
to putting the batteries and putting the it's like fuel in the car, putting that in our cars, and we driving long distances with love. So
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Well, in closing, season 2 is Why Not Now?
Yeah.
Why not now?
Uh-huh.
So what are 3 things that you could think of just off the top of your head that people should kind of implement into their lives?
Yeah, so the very first thing that I'm gonna say is a self-investment in yourself. In particular, discover what love is, what true love is.
Yeah.
And not just romantic love, but what love is as a brother, what love is as a sister.
Yeah.
What love is as a family member, community member, all of those things. And when I say explore, I want people to get out and practice.
Yeah.
I want people to be selfless. I want people to give to their neighbor when they see somebody needing help with groceries, or they see one of their neighbors, needing help lifting something up. Just go over there and help. Talk
just
to
to
them.
give, not
Just
to get anything back.
No, just to give.
Just to give.
Simply give.
Yeah, that's good.
I try not to say no too much. That's one of the things that I kind of live by. Like, if it's not taking nothing from me for real,
Yeah.
I don't say no. Another thing that I can think of that I would want people to, do is to educate themselves on our history, especially Black people. So when in my book, the first half of it kind of talk about how our history in this country kind of drove us apart.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to have love back in the center of our community to draw us all back together. It's like a gravitational pull. In the center of Earth is gravity, and it pulls everything down.
Yeah.
That's why we don't leave out to space or nothing. But I want love to be that gravitational pull that bring us closer together. And then the last thing, man, love just keep on popping in my mind, but I said that once and almost twice already. I'm going to say be a little selfish in the aspect of, the book is called Love Me Black, so I'm talking to Black people.
Yeah.
Be selfish in the fact that we have such a unique experience in this country.
Yeah.
And globally, that we need to focus on us more, and almost in totality focus on ourselves, so that we can be those productive members of society. The last thing I'm gonna say is I got a philosophy about the Black community and Black society is that great individuals create great families build great communities are a catalyst for are a catalyst for great nations, and great nations build a better world.
Yeah.
But the work starts with the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And with this book, with Love Me Black, it'll teach you how to build that family. It'll teach you the values that you need to possess in order to, you know, be a great individual so that you can create a great family.
Yeah.
And then as we move from family to community, we are, being intentional about expanding our work, and then we hitting the global stage with it.
Yeah.
And then we making a better world. So
that's amazing.
yeah, man.
Well, thank you, Jordan, so much for coming on.
No
Wish you
sweat.
well with the book. Where can
No
people
sweat.
find it?
Yeah. So you can
And the merch. I don't know if the merch is for sale, but the
no,
merch.
the merch is for sale.
Okay.
That shirt is low key for
Okay.
sale.
Yes.
So the book is available on Amazon. You just go to Amazon, type in "Love Me Black" by Jordan Johnson, and it should be the very first thing that pop up. If it's not, you can just look for this book cover. And then it's also available on my website, love-me-black.square.site. It's not a .com yet, but
getting there.
Yeah, we getting there. But yeah, you can get that shirt that Sierra has on, and the book, or in a signed copy of the book. And you can also learn more about what we do as a company, and book us for events and speaking engagements and all of that.
Okay. Well, thank y'all so much. His goal is to have one of these books in every single Black household. So let's get to the site to grab the book. Well, once again, my name is Sierra Ward, and I'm the host of Truly We Speak podcast. I thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment. Share this with a friend, someone who this may help or uplift. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye now.
Peace.